Hello, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Touchline Talk at 2, slightly delayed. Apologies, but normally it's going to be Touchline Talk at 2 on Tuesdays and Fridays with LNobbins. There's a lot to discuss today, a lot to discuss. Many outgoings, many outgoings are being suggested in the rumour mill, etc., etc. So today, what I thought it would be good to do is basically have a chat about, the signings, the potential transfers and outgoings that we would be happy with. How would that impact City and that sort of thing? Because as I say, it's been kicking off into overdrive. One of the questions on Ask Nobbins, which is being uploaded later today, by the way, was from a couple weeks ago, and the question was, why aren't City being linked with the outgoings? What's going on? It just goes to show that in the transfer window, it only takes like a few days for it all to kick off in either respect. So we're going to be touching on all of that and more. There should hopefully today, in today's stream, I'm experimenting with some latency. There should be a slightly less delay on this stream compared to normal. Can we please test that out? If someone can get their keyboard up or their phone keyboard or PC keyboard, whatever, can you please type the number? Get ready. Type the number 5 for me now. Quickly, go. I'm just testing something, and there's another level of latency I can take it to. If this is still oh, that was quite quick. That was quite quick. Okay, good, perfect. So the delay has been destroyed by about 10 seconds, I'd say. I can make the delay go even less, but I feel like that's actually pretty good. If I go even less, then that will potentially impact on quality. Thank you guys for that experiment. Thank you very much. That's really helpful to know. I'll do another experiment maybe next time. We can do even less latency. But there we go. Thank you guys for that. Yeah, that just makes it really good, because in the past there was like a 15-second delay between me saying something and you guys replying. Now that's been cut significantly. So that's really good. Okay, where shall we start? Because there's plenty to discuss. There's Etcheverry. There is Akanji. There's still there's Gundogan as well. Like there was a tweet involving him. Kovacic is of course going to be discussed. So where do I want? Oh, and of course, yeah, of course, Mason. Yeah, Edison and the Savio situation as well. So I think maybe Calvin Phillips. I'm not gonna lie, I forgot he existed. So maybe we should start. Let's first of all start with what I think is some positive news, because I think the last few days, to me, there's been some good news. There's been some brilliant news, and there's been some. I'm not going to say upsetting news, but it's news where I'm more like I'm like below content. I'm not upset. Does that make sense? So, yeah, there's different stages of transfers. So let's start with Etcheverry, I think. Now, this is one of the transfers that I'm very happy with. Yeah, Naipan's off to Borough as well, which is really good. Etcheverry, I think it's been Here We Go'd by Fabrizio Romano as well. It came out. It was what's that guy called? Pettenberg. I'm so sorry. He, the chap who works at Sky, he said that this is happening, and then Romano has Here We Go with it. So that's really good to me. I know that lots of people wanted Etcheverry to stay. I know LB was one of those people, and I get it, and I totally understand why he'd want Etcheverry to stay, because he is this fantastic talent where the sky really is the limit for him, and there is a world where he can be a fantastic player for City. But you've got to, the way I'm interpreting the whole Etcheverry situation is, you've got to look at it from the perspective of, first of all, I just don't consider him ready to be starting on a relatively consistent basis for City. Go watch, if you want more of my in-depth thoughts on that, go watch my analysis video on it. I think he's at the quality level, however, where he should be playing on a relatively consistent basis. And I don't think that can be achieved at City. there's just too many players blocking his path. Had we not signed, Shirky, then I think I could see a world where it would make sense to keep him. But now that we have, I really don't see how he gets many, if any, serious minutes in the centre, given all of the options we already have who can play in that more advanced area of the pitch who are still at the club. I just think there are too many bodies right now. And again, he's a sort of player who needs to develop into the player who can get a decent amount of minutes for City, where it's sort of justified in giving him 10 to 15 starts in the league, that sort of level, because he's probably not going to just go from nothing to 30 league starts. There's got to be a pathway, and for him to get on that first step of that ladder, I think that's only achieved elsewhere. Leverkusen is a surprising one. It sort of came out of nowhere. He was linked with Roma, who were in the Europa League. Seemingly, City wanted him to go to Girona, which does make sense because obviously they are one of our sister clubs. They tend to have a lot of the ball. That would translate over to City, of course. But I think Leverkusen's the most exciting one because that's a Champions League club. And he's going to be playing a lot for Leverkusen, I would assume, given that they've just lost their main creative passer in Florian Wirtz. So it seems to be a really good deal. I didn't even envisage that as a potential one. Obviously, Ten Hag is a bit of an L. Yeah, exactly, Musty. Yeah, Dortmund also wanted him. But Dortmund were naughty. They wanted an option to buy. And Roma wanted an option to buy as well, didn't they? And I'm really happy to see that City have pushed back on that. Because even though it's really hard to predict ceilings, and even though, again, I will challenge those who think that he is ready to go right now, there is definitely a world where he becomes a world-class attacking midfielder. There is definitely a world where that happens. I don't think we can risk losing that potential asset at this very early stage in his career where he's still 19 years old, I'm pretty sure. Exactly, Musty. He is really raw. He still needs to develop his decision-making. That's my biggest critique of him. But that's only going to be able to be developed playing relatively consistently week after week after week rather than just getting the occasional sub appearance or the occasional impact appearance and a chaotic game state. He needs to develop as a player where it's 0-0. Can you actually make the correct decisions in the correct areas of the pitch at the correct time? And once again, that's only going to come with experience. And Champions League experience and top flight experience for a really good club as well. Of all the clubs he's linked with, you'd argue that Leverkusen's the best one in respect to where they finished last season. In fact, that's objective, isn't it? They finished second in the Bundesliga. Is that right? Don't think he was linked with anyone who finished first. So I'm really happy with that. Once again, Ten Hag, bit of a shame that he's going to be his manager, but it's not the end of the world. And that's also good because we knew that he just couldn't stay from a numbers perspective as well. Never mind the fact that players like Bob, Foden, Shirky, Marmoush, even Reinders are going to be ahead of him in that more advanced area of the centre of the pitch. We know the homegrown situation is what it is. We know we can't really accommodate having Naipan, Hayes, Echeverry at the club right now. Maybe next season after, depending on how players do. It just makes total sense to me for that to happen. Does anyone... Because I am willing to... This isn't something I'm massively precious over. Does anyone disagree? Does anyone really think he should have stayed? Let me know. This is interesting, Musty, because I wasn't sure what the timeline was, because I didn't know what Naipan's birthday was, or when we signed him, whatever. So this could absolutely be a thing, and this would be a thing based on the Champions League rules, because Naipan's actually younger than I thought he was. And the timeline does work, whereby if he stays in England, then the Champions League would regard him as homegrown, and the Premier League would regard him as homegrown. I think that is the case. I think that's the case. So it does make sense that he's gone to a Championship side. And that's that's a nice balance if you're trying to tread the line of trying to keep like a homegrown factor, but also you want to give him some experience, but you want to also bulk out the physicality as well. A championship seems to be a great one to me. Is my sound a bit low? It's okay on my end, but let me know if anyone else is experiencing any audio issues, and I can talk like this instead. Maybe I can bring the microphone closer to my face. Maybe that will help you, Yash Pal. Iron Man says, I'm not sure if Leverkusen is the best option. Have a look at their attacking options. Do you think there's going to be too much of a pathway, too many players in the way then, Iron Man? So can you name them for me? So who are you concerned about? Because in my head, I was really liking the idea of him linking up with Palacios, because Palacios is someone who I suggested as, before we got Nico. He is a player who likes to play those long balls in behind. I feel like Echeverri would do really good running onto those. And I think that obviously they're both Argentinian as well, so there's a little bit of a cheeky connection there. Naipan's already 18. To qualify, he needs to be in England for 3 years before 21. Yes, so if he has those 3 years in England, that will be a thing. So I guess if you're looking at that, if the idea is to try to make him homegrown, which would make sense because that would make him even more valuable. Even if I don't want to look at it as a business decision, because obviously, ideally, we're looking at a footballing decision of maybe there's a world where Naipan can become a future City player. But let's for a moment say that's a bit of a pipe dream. He doesn't develop into the player that we'd hoped, whatever, and you have to sell him on. As far as selling him to other Premier League clubs, that would exponentially increase his value, because now all of a sudden he's not taking up one of your homegrown slots. So it makes a lot of sense from a business perspective if he's going. It would also make sense from a squad building perspective if he's staying, and it still also makes sense from like an experience perspective. So that's the thing as well. No, I've not, Musty. I know zilch about Naipan. Absolutely nothing, but I'm aware that he is very well regarded. I've spoken to some Norwegian football fans who know a lot more about him than I, and they seem very excited about him, but they accept that he's nowhere near ready and does need to go out on loan. If he develops into like a really exciting player, then I will absolutely be looking into him. But right now, based on what people have said, they like the look of him from a technical perspective. Physicality might be a question mark. Championship seems pretty good as a development ground for that. The Championship has started, yes. It has. I think it started a couple of weeks ago, actually. It started before the Premier League, because obviously they've got more games. They've got 46 games, is it? So that's 8 extra games. And then they've got the playoffs, so they have to start a bit earlier. Yeah, so I'm very happy with the Naipan loan. Very happy with the Echeverri loan. I don't know what's happening with that Leon situation. Like, was it bullshit that we were sending them a player on loan as part of the Shirky deal? That seems to have died a death a little bit. I don't know if that was just bullshit and like paper talk. The way people were talking about it, I thought that something was happening there, but apparently not. Oh, that's interesting. So Will, who is a Borough fan, doesn't think he'll play that much. Why is that? That's interesting. Because he's a top talent. He's a top talent, so I would have thought that he would have done that. Wait, what's that, Ariaman? More game time for who? What's that? Has something happened? What's that? I don't understand. They have Hackney. Naipan might be clear, no cap. Hello, Floors. How are you? Leon doesn't know what's happening with their own situation. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough, Fenway. Galatasaray seems to have slowed down a bit on the Ederson and Singo matters. If Galatasaray get Ederson and Singo, I'm going to throw my shit. The costs are too exorbitant, too high, listed as tier 1 on Galatasaray subreddit. How interesting. Hello, Bailey. They wouldn't agree to the loan unless there was a route to mid. I hope that is the case, Bailey. I really hope so. It obviously didn't work out for Hamilton. I know that was a sale, but hopefully they can do a bit better with this situation. And yeah, you'd like to think that City know what they're doing here. You'd like to think that. Echeverri should be fine. Yeah, exactly. And as I say, with Palacios behind him as well, with those through balls. Beautiful. That Argentine connection is going to be a beautiful situation had by all. I messaged LB like when that was announced. I was like, "Are you going to do some Leverkusen and Watchalongs then?" And he has confirmed that he will. Yeah, no, he said unfortunately, so I don't think he wants to. Because I think LB did want to keep Echeverri, and I get where he's coming from, but I just don't see it personally. So yeah, that's Echeverri. That's Naipan. You guys brought up the Edison Savio one, so let's touch on those before we move on to the Akanji one. I think the Akanji one is probably the one that's got the most legs, seemingly. Like, that does seem likely to happen, so we will touch on that, of course. But first of all, let's address the Savio situation. In fact, before we do, I just want to get a read of the room. Let's, for a second, assume that the news is correct. Savio is staying. Happy, upset, neutral. Those are your three options, guys. How are you feeling? I'm happy, personally, that Savio is staying. But what are you? Are you happy? Are you neutral? Are you upset? You can have some variance therein as well. Do a poll. Yeah. Why do I do this? I always ask you questions that could be a poll, and then I just don't do that. There we go. Okay. Good question. Good point. We'll do a poll. And I'll also add, because if Savio stays, that inherently means that Rodrigo's not coming. So if Savio stays and Rodrigo doesn't come in, how would you feel about that? So we're going to have three options. We're going to be happy, neutral, upset. There we go. Okay, guys, if Savio stays and Rodrigo doesn't come in, how would you feel about that? Would you be happy? Would you be neutral? Or would you be upset? Let me know by voting on the poll so I can just get a gauge of where we are at. So that would be very interesting to know what the chat thinks on that. They are both correlated. Blue Lock says Savio is staying. Matt is happy that Savio is looking to stay. The Citizen says I'm fine. Yeah, neutral, lots of money to leave on the table. Yeah, there is, of course, a business elements to it. Loco, don't worry, I've popped the question as a poll, so you're all good. No, Trico. Don't forget to hashtag. Oh yeah, this is so interesting. Wow. So this is we had 115 votes there. What an L. Yeah, so this is so interesting. Yeah, so there are as many happy people as there are upset people, and there's only slightly more neutral people. So it's essentially it's the most split it could be, I guess, which is super interesting. But I guess it's not that surprising, given that, you know, obviously, like, there's people like me who don't want Rodrigo to come in, and there's lots of City fans who concur. Conversely, there's lots of City fans who don't agree. So I guess it does make sense that we're basically split down the middle there. I guess that does make sense, to be fair. Never want Rod anyway, says Dave. Still not confirmed. It's not confirmed at all. No, but, you know, this is the hypothetical if it happens. But the latest seems to be that he's not coming to City because Savio's not leaving City. That appears to be the most recent update in this very odd situation that I know. ITK Nobbins has been born. That I actually know a little bit about, but I'm not going to discuss until, like, the thing's at an end, because I've been requested to not do that. So yeah, there's a lot going on, essentially. What do I want to say about this? What do I want to say about the Savio situation? Keep your votes coming in, by the way. I'll I don't know what that sound was. I'll keep it up for like another 10-15 minutes, and then I'll come back to it, see what the final verdict is. What I would say is that whatever your feelings are to, like, Rodrigo in or out, whatever. Like let's say that you want him in, you want Savio out, let's say, because that's the paradigm that's happened. And I can't believe that was ever the paradigm. I can't believe that was ever the paradigm and the choice. But football is crazy. Indeed, it might still be the choice. Some people are now already deciding that he's got to, like, I saw someone, like I was having a chat with someone on Twitter, and he said, first of all, he said, we are out for blood, which is a very odd, it's a very incendiary thing to say, first of all. He said, Nobbins, we are out for blood with Savio. He had better get 30 G&A next season. Now, that seems incredibly unfair. Because would you guys like, because obviously he's comparing him to, he's saying that he's obviously comparing him to Rodrigo, whatever. Would you like to know how many times Rodrigo's achieved 30 G&A in his club career for Real Madrid, or just indeed generally? Would you like to hazard a guess how many times that's happened? Like, it's very bizarre. It's not shameless. Yeah, it's zero. It's never happened. So that seems a really weird standard. It seems like a really weird standard that this person's now set for Savio, and I don't think that he's alone either. So that's just incredibly unfair that we are now saying he's got to hit a standard that the other option's never even done himself. And I think it was Bailey who pointed out also that Mahrez did that once in his whole City career, and he obviously came as a far more experienced player. So that just seems to be a little bit silly to me. I would say that what's a reasonable thing is, I would say, between 20 to 25 goals and assists in the season. I think that is reasonable. And I think that is what I think that would be a very good season for a 20 to 21-year-old who's only got a couple of top flight seasons of experience. I think that 20 to 25 is a lot more reasonable and realistic than 30, which seems a little bit mad. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Bailey confirming that point. And if we have and I would like to see that. I know we're not talking about Doku. I know we're not talking about Doku as well, necessarily in this conversation, but lots of people have also said that it's last chance saloon for him, and I think that's reasonable to an extent. Yeah, in all comps. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. No, we're talking about all comps here for sure. Otherwise, that'd be really mental. Yeah, but I've got faith that they will do that, because but here's the thing, Oscar Bob the Goat. Here's the thing, matey. Here's the thing. Savio did this at Girona. He got 21. And last season, he got 14. In a dysfunctional City side in his first season. So I don't know if it is as ridiculous as you are suggesting, because literally last season he was only 6 away in his first year when he wasn't supposed to be our main right winger anyway. So I don't think it's unfair to expect him to get that many, to be honest with you. Of course, I guess it depends on game time. Like, if he just doesn't play. Oh, sorry, was it 16? Is it even more? Have I undersold him? I thought it was 14. My apologies. My apologies, guys. No, it is 14. He's 3 goals, 11 assists I've got here. Am I missing some games? I might be missing some games, but I can see 3 goals and 11 assists on my stat sheet. And as I say, for Girona, he got 11 and 10 the year before. So he can clearly do that. So I don't think I agree, Oscar Bob, to be fair. Is that the real Oscar Bob? I don't think I agree. I think that he could absolutely do that. Now, once again, it will depend on the game time. It will depend on the game time. Like, if he's like a bit part player and barely plays, then obviously the expectations decline. But if we're talking about, you know, around 40 to 50 appearances in all competitions, then I don't see why he can't get to that sort of 20 mark. And again, he's only he's 21, so I don't see why he can't get better at it as well, to be honest with you. And just like touching on Doku, again, I know that this isn't really a conversation about Doku because he's not being linked with a move away, but it's just because it's another conversation to be had. In his first season with City, he got 15. In his second season with City, the season just gone, he got 17. I don't see why he can't just get another few, and then he hits that 20 as well. And I think that would be a pretty good return for these wingers. Am I missing something there? If Doku and Savio next season both get like 20 collectively, so 20 for Doku, 20 for Savio, that seems to be pretty good. That seems to be pretty chill. You know, like people are always saying he needs output, he needs to be scoring more, he needs to be creating more, whatever. He needs to be like more efficient in respect to the direct output. That seems to be a pretty good trend. 15 first year, 17 the next year. Just have another few. Obviously, we know he needs to get better in front of goal, but we saw at the Club World Cup that he did look a bit. He did look a little bit better on that front. I don't see why they can't achieve that. I'd be upset if they weren't able to do that. But there we go. So he got 17 last year. So what is that? Another 3? He only needs to do another 3. That's not too much of an improvement, to be fair. Not too much of an improvement in a more functional City side. Yeah, I think that's perfectly reasonable, to be honest with you. What do you guys think is reasonable for Doku and Savio? They're like, what would make you happy in respect of like this collective output? Even though I don't think it should just be based on output, because I think that performances are as equally valuable. But let's simplify it just for the sake of argument. Yeah, I'm just talking about G&A, goals and assists, because that seems to be the main driving factor between any conversation about these signings. These guys don't get enough G&A. What would they have to do next season for you guys to be happy with them and go keep them, or they're not good enough, or that sort of thing? Because I think 20 to 25 is good. I think that would be very good, personally. You know, around 20 to 25 is pretty chill for me. And if they don't, then yeah, I'd consider that underperformance. But once again, like Savio got 21, then 14. Doku's got 15, then 17. It seems to be the trend is there or thereabouts. In a better City side, I don't see why that can't happen. So Herbal, that's what you expect. What would make you happy, though? That's my question is not what do you expect. My question is, what would make you content and happy with them? That's the key. I don't want to know what you expect. What would make you a happy boy? Or girl. Or girl. Sandile says, I want 10 goals. 15 and 10, so 25 overall. The volume of goals is less important to me. The importance of goals is the most important. Importance as flaws. That's reasonable. Happy 25, bare minimum. 25 as a minimum is a bit. That seems quite extreme. As a bare minimum, okay. 20 to 25. I think around that range is perfectly fine. And of course, if they can do more, then that's lovely. Yeah. And again, this isn't just the... Yeah, of course, this is like all comps. This isn't just the league. Because if we were going to do that argument of just to count the Premier League, then, I mean, like, the bar if we're comparing it to Rodrigo, for example, it, like, plummets. Because his La Liga goal scoring has not been that impressive across his entire Real Madrid career. So, yeah, we are looking at an all comps situation here. I'd be happy with that personally. And again, we've got to have the caveat of it depends on injuries. It depends on playing time as well. Like, if they just don't play, then we can't expect them to get that level of output. That would be unreasonable. And I've said injuries, didn't I? Yeah, so yeah, I think that's reasonable though, and that is fair. And that would actually be a lot more. And again, I know I didn't ask for expect. I asked for what do you want, but that'd be a lot more than what we predicted. Probably overall, you know, like when we did that, how many goals do we need to win the title? I know we're doing all comps here, but still, that still probably would work out as a lot more, which is good. Which is good. I don't see why they can't do that. Yeah. In a world where we're fortunate with injuries, I'd be happy having Doc if they both got 15, says Naveen. That's fair. I'd like more because I want progress, but I take it. We must invest in a right back. I agree. We need a right back. No, indeed, true citizen. But I'm trying to simplify it just for the sake of argument, because I said before, I value a performance more so than a direct contribution. Like, for example, I thought that Reinders' best contribution against Wolves was City's first goal, but he didn't get a direct contribution. So, yeah, there's a balancing act to be had, but for the purposes of this conversation. JS, thank you so much for the super chat, matey. Always very generous. Doku to add a bit of Raheem to his game. Savio to add a bit of Riyadh to his game. Got faith that Pep will work his magic. Yeah, to me, they're still talented players. I think Savio in particular, I think, like, deserves a little bit more time/patience, because he is obviously younger and less experienced with City as well. He's only had one season in a very chaotic, dysfunctional side, and he ended up being only De Bruyne was a better creator than him. So I thought Savio had quite a good season last year. Needs to do better in front of goal, no doubt. Fortune for JS. When fire and water go to war, water always wins. Okay. I mean, it depends how much water there is. Like, if a house is burning, a bucket of water ain't going to do shit, is it? So it does depend on how many soldiers water can drum up in that instance. But I take the point. I take the point. I get it. But I don't necessarily agree with it all the time. Exactly. Steamy, exactly. Not necessarily the case. It depends on how much water and fire there is. It's a good point, Musty. It's a good point. It totally depends. A Kanji out will help all around see his decline time for right back coming in. It's still possible. Northern Hawaiian, I think that City aren't interested in getting a right back by the sound of it, so I don't think it's a case of move on a Kanji, get a right back. I don't think that they are related to one another. If they were related to one another, then my stance on a Kanji would be very, very different. But as it is, I don't think that's gonna be the case. We've got a fair few people watching here, which is great, guys. You know what I'm going to ask of you? Please leave a like on the stream, because it's free and it helps your boy. Let's get to 200 likes, please, as quick as possible. Thank you very, very much. Is there anything else that we want to cover on Savio before? I guess I've not really touched on Rodrigo, but I don't know how many more times I can outline my thoughts on Rodrigo without it becoming really boring for you guys as the viewer. I don't mind talking about it, but I feel like you guys must surely be bored of me talking about it. So do we have anything else to say on Savio or the poll? Yes. So we had 350 votes. That's a very good poll. So I think it's a pretty good sample size of everyone watching today. To conclude, the question was, if Savio stays and Rodrigo doesn't come in, how would you feel about that? 26% upset, which is the lowest number. 28% happy, so basically the same. 47%, now 46%, now 47% neutral. So it seems to me that you guys are of the view that we're back to square one, essentially. So neither happy nor upset. Take it or leave it. And I think that does sum up this whole transfer saga and Savio's alleged desires to leave. So thank you guys for taking part in the poll. That's really interesting information to have. Hello, E-Ink. Thank you so much for supporting the channel as always, mate. How would Wharton fit in next season if we get him? So I guess you could. So if we're taking that Wolves game, you could just swap him out for Bernardo. You can like go back to like a more traditional double pivot of like Rodri and Wharton if you wanted. I don't know if I'd be comfortable with that. I don't even know if that's necessary, to be honest with you, because Rodri's already got such good deep passing. I think that, yeah, the best solution would probably be to have a 3-man in the middle if you're going to have Wharton relative to the rest of our other midfielders as well. That's what I would say. I like the idea of Wharton, and I was a big advocate for him, before we brought in like Nico and Reinders, whatever. Not convinced necessarily that he'd be the optimal sort of like Bernardo comes out bringing Wharton. I don't know about that. But maybe the thought process is, as Joshua's just alluded to there, is it just a case of can you mould him into a Rodri replacement long term? Because how old is Wharton? Because he's young, isn't he? Is he a 6 or an 8? I would argue that he's both, but in a City side, he's probably more of a 6. I've got Wharton, University of Pennsylvania. Why is Donald Trump on my screen? Hello? I just want to know how old Adam Wharton is. How old is he? Why have I gone to images? What a weirdo I am. Here, how old is he? He is 21. He's going to be 22 this year. Yeah, so he's young. So there is definitely a world where he could actually, to be fair, be moulded into that sort of player. He wouldn't be a like-for-like Bernardo-like replacement. I would suggest that in a City side, he would be far more of a defensive midfielder than slightly more advanced. But he can do both. He can absolutely do both. If I had to compare him to a player, and I don't think this is a lazy comparison because they are both English and blah, 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 blah. Nobbins being lazy with your comparisons. Well, I'm a lazy guy, so chill. He is very Michael Carrick, if you're old enough to remember him in his absolute prime. And he was a wonderful, underrated footballer and disgustingly underutilized by England. That is where Wharton would be. He's a deep-lying playmaker sort of defensive midfielder. That sort of vibe. As I say, Carrick-like. Due to his passing range and ability. I think Foden will be given the chance. AP, I hope so. I really hope so. I want to see that team against Wolves, but pop Foden where Bernardo was. I would love that. I think that would be. I think to me that's the ceiling of that midfield. To me, Savio had the worst shot conversion in the top 5 leagues. Could he improve? I think so. Citizen. Oh my goodness! I think I've run out of paper. Have I? I've run out of paper, so I can't give you a fortune. I'm gonna have to restock the Haaland thing, Floor. So I apologise. I can't give you your fortune. Did you see Fab saying City were going to get Donnarumma when he became a free agent next summer, which is strange in terms of bringing in Trafford? Yeah, I still don't really get what is happening with the goalkeeper situation, because you got people like David Ornstein saying that Trafford was reassured that he was going to be the number 1, but then you got people saying that, well, City want Donnarumma. Those two things don't seem to align. It's very confusing. So yeah, it's a very odd one. Yeah, I've got fortune. I've got paper. I just need to restock the Haaland printer. That's amazing. So we've used so much paper. We've actually ran out. I did buy spares. So let me give you a fortune instead. There is a light within your near future that you must not avoid. Oh, that was pretty good off the top of the dome. You know, there you go. That's your fortune, Floors. It's cryptic, it's vague, it might be a load of bollocks, but There you go. There's your fortune. It's Rodrigo. That's life changing. No worries, all flaws. I got you, mate. I got you with these fortunes, mates. I got you with them. Yeah, I don't think there was anything to. I don't think there was anything else to discuss with Savio. I am happy that he's staying. To sum up my Savio's position, I'm happy that he's staying. I'm shocked that he was ever linked to leave. I thought he had a really good debut season in a dysfunctional City side. I really value his creativity. The finishing, of course, needs to get better, and that's what I was talking about before I got distracted. Someone says the shot conversion was terrible, and absolutely it was. However, I've seen him play for Girona, and the shot conversion was actually quite good off that right side. So I'm hopeful that he is a player who's going to continue to generate shot-creating actions and generate XG, and hopefully it averages out. And last season, he massively underperformed. The season before that, I think he overperformed slightly. Might be wrong with that, but I think he overperformed, if my memory serves me correctly. So maybe this season, hopefully, he can just be average. So he gets 5 expected goals in the Premier League, he scores 5 goals. That sort of thing. That's what I want from him. Literally, all I want Savio is to be competent in front of goal, because he gets into the positions really well. He just needs to be more efficient with his conversion. And of course, that's easier said than done, but I'm hopeful that it will happen. Because again, generally speaking, if a footballer is getting a lot of chances in front of goal, then it will average out closer towards their expected goals. So that's my thoughts on Savio. Happy with keeping him. I know that Bob's looked really impressive on that right side, but I was a bit nervous about getting rid of one of our only true wingers in the squad. I was a little bit concerned about that and replacing him with an inside forward. That was a little bit concerning to me from a squad building perspective. We're very narrow as a team right now, and that's not necessarily wrong, because I don't mind width coming from the fullbacks. You guys know my thoughts on that, but I like options, and to me, losing Savio would be bad from that option perspective. Yeah, I am quite happy that he is staying, to be honest with you. Yeah, that's my take. If he stays, of course, because he might not stay, who knows? It might be another turntables thing in this transfer saga, and he ends up leaving, and we bring in Rodrigo, and then it's all moot, isn't it? But right now, it looks like he is staying. Of course, the landscape was very different last week. That's Savio. And maybe we can come back to him if we feel the need to, because again, I know I've not discussed Rodrigo fully, but again, if you guys want to know my thoughts on Rodrigo, just go watch any stream or any video, and I touch on him. Brief aside, I'm not accusing anyone here of doing that, but my word, the amount of people on Twitter who are so, whether intentionally or not, the amount of misunderstanding of my position is shocking, to be honest with you. I don't know what has happened, but people are reaching really weird conclusions, and it's just not true at all. It's very odd. People think I think Rodrigo's shit. People think that I only want project players. It's really odd and bizarre. It's almost like people are intentionally not choosing to understand what I am saying. I don't know how many times I can repeat my message before it just becomes, I don't know, intolerable for anyone, because I'm saying it a million times over and over and over again. So it's fine to disagree, but you've got to understand my position before you can talk to me about it. Because, yeah, I don't know if people are being deliberately, I don't know if they're deliberately twisting it, Dave. I don't know if they're unintentionally doing it. But either way, it's frustrating, and I'd rather they stop and actually try to have an actual sincere conversation with me about it, because I like having sincere conversations about it. But I can't if your starting point is I'm not willing to understand what you're saying. It doesn't matter how many times I explain myself. Like there was one where, going off track a bit here, there was one where I said I think it's good that Lewis stays. I maintain that's a good deal. It would be a bad deal if we sold him, and we need to keep him. And like this chap replied saying, well, I think Núñez should be our starting right back, something like that. And I'm like, that is so not relevant to what I said. And then I explain myself and I say, no, I don't disagree, but this is what I'm saying. And he goes, yeah, but I want Núñez as a starting right back. But that's not what I'm saying. It's very odd. It's very odd. I like to have the conversation, but as I say, if someone can't, I'm not being rude, but I clearly label out my position. If you can't understand it, then there's literally nothing more I can do. I try so hard. To be like patient and like polite on Twitter, whatever. Initially, if someone's a dick to me, I'll be a dick back. Don't worry about it. But because I'm always trying to approach it from a position of sincerity. You know? Anyway, Akanji. Let's move on. We're chunning a lot there. Akanji. There is a world. Oh, how's Dana doing? So she's still in hospital. She's. We're trying to get her to walk a little bit, so to hopefully try to get her back into a flat. But right now she's been in that ward for a couple weeks, I think. So yeah, and my mum visited today, and she said that she was able to walk from like her bed to the corridor. So there's hopefully progress there. But you know, it's a bit of an uphill battle when you've got dementia and Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and just like limited mobility from COVID. It's all a bit tricky. So that is the state of play there. Hopefully we can get her back into a flat by the end of the week. We shall see. And hopefully for her, she wants to go to the Etihad on Saturday. It's like Nana, you can't walk. Like what are you talking about? So yeah, so we'll see what happens there. Yeah, Akanji. So this, I think, this is the because we all know like an Outgoings got to happen. She did watch we got the Wolves game on the phone. Yeah, we all know that realistically one of the old guard has to go this summer. Realistically, to be fair, it doesn't have to happen. However, let's assume Ortega goes. One player, the Premier League's fine. One player from the Champions League, one player will miss out RE Champions League registration. That's the current landscape. So it's not a case of a player now has to go. It's not as perilous as it was like a few weeks and months ago when we were talking about it ad nauseum. But in an ideal world, I think you would have the same Champions League squad as Premier League squad. Again, maybe something can be worked out where, like, if everyone stays, maybe, I don't know, fucking Gundogan goes. I'm actually chilled to not playing the Champions League. I don't think he'd ever say that, but, you know, he'd go, I understand my position. I won't play in the Champions League, and I'll just, like, be like a presence in the dressing room. Whatever. I don't know. That's just a bullshit thing I've made up in my head. So ideally, someone would go. And of course, the options were, realistically, Gundogan, Kovacic, and Akanji. Now, again, it's now not essential that one goes because of that fact. Again, we could just like not register one of them. I'd still rather not do that, though. So it would seem that what I should say is that we should sell Akanji. And maybe that would be the logical conclusion to draw. However, I've been quite consistent with my Akanji position, and I don't think that he's the best option to get rid of this summer. We did a whole stream on it, and I know that you can say that, well, what's done is done, so it's a relevant move on, but I still think it's important to touch on. Allegedly, there was a world where Saudi Arabia came in for Kovacic. Kovacic said, I'm a bit more focused on I want to focus on City, and that's fine. However, so people went, well, Kovacic wanted to stay, can't force him out. Okay, I accept that. However, again, according to that same source, I think it was it Romano? Was it Fabrizio? I can't remember who it was. It may have been. It was a good source either way. He said that the club were also the club shared Kovacic's position, and that's what I just couldn't get on board with. Because again, we can say, well, Kovacic wanted to stay, so that's fine. However, if as the club you lay it out and go, look, you're not going to play realistically. Look at all the players that are in front of you in the 6th position. Look at all of the players that are ahead of you in the 8th position. You don't necessarily offer anything extra from a tactical perspective. So, go. Basically, it is how I would have approached it if I was in charge of City, and obviously I'm not because I'm a little nobody. But I just don't see any value in keeping Kovacic personally, because Rodri's ahead of him in the 6, or should be, and Nico should be ahead of him in the 6, and I'd say that Reinders should be ahead of him in the 6, and I'd say that if you're having a double pivot, Bernardo is ahead of him in that position, and again, if we're having a double pivot, I'd say that Nico O'Reilly's ahead of him in that position as well, if you go slightly further up the pitch, not as advanced as 10, but let's say 8. Again, all of those players I've just named are still ahead of him. I'd say Nico should be ahead of him, the Reinders should be ahead of him, the Bernardo should be ahead of him. I can even say that Foden should be ahead of him. I can even say that Bob should be ahead of him as well. Lewis should be ahead of him as well. I've named 6 players there quite easily, quite comfortably. That's how I interpret his position and standing at this club. So I don't if we do keep Kovacic, I personally don't get it. Now, why am I talking so much about Kovacic? And why do I not just want to get rid of Akanji? And I guess Gundogan is also similar to my Kovacic stance. Like, I think that we should probably be looking to get rid of Gundo as well. But again, like, wait, what? Of the players you've named, Kova's the best of the 3? Oh, sorry, like Kova, Gundo, Akanji. But this isn't even about, like, the individual ability of the player. Because, again, Rodrigo's a better player than Savio, but that doesn't inform my thinking of why would I want one over the other. It's more to do with what does this player offer the squad as a whole. Now, I've reached the conclusion that Kovacic doesn't offer anything anymore, and that sounds incredibly mean. But I think that all of his best traits are covered by players that we now have. Through a combination of all those players that I've named. I don't think that he's actually offering anything anymore. I don't see where he should be getting his minutes. I'd personally move him on, and I'd probably throw Gundogan into that as well. Why do I not share the same view necessarily on Akanji? Before I go on, let me know your thoughts on Akanji. I'm pretty sure I'm in the vast minority here. I'm pretty sure, and to be fair, the Akanji one, my Akanji position is one that I'm not particularly strong on. I'm willing to be swayed. It's not like it's if he goes, I'll be like, I don't think that's the correct decision. But it's not like Savio where I'll actually be gutted if he goes. I'll be like, whatever. I don't really mind. But my position on Akanji is as follows. First of all, I'm looking at the landscape of our defence. I don't want Akanji to play at centre-back, by the way. Like, really, realistically, ever. In an ideal world, Akanji would be, like, the lowest on the list. So, behind Gvardiol, behind Ake, behind Diaz, behind Kusanov. So, 5th choice. Ideally, he's a 5th choice centre-back. Did I name everyone there? I don't think I named Stones there, so maybe 6th choice. Ake, Gvardiol, Diaz, Kusanov, Stones, 6th choice. Yeah. I don't think I missed anyone out there. I'm a little bit nervous about the whole Stones Ake situation because I know that last season was properly bad RE injuries back there, and that wasn't the norm. However, it would not surprise me if Ake and Stones picked up relatively significant injuries next season. That, I think we can safely say, it would not surprise any of us if that happened based on precedent. You know, this isn't like a Gvardiol situation where he just doesn't get injured really for City. Like, Stones and Ake have a bit of a track record, and again, last season was an outlier, but still, in which case we've obviously lost those two. Now we only have, you know, Gvardiol, Diaz, and Kusanov, and Gvardiol might need to fill in sometimes at left back. So that's my first bit of ickiness. If we had midfielders like that, who had that sort of injury track record, then I'd be more willing to keep Kovacic, but we don't really have any midfielders that are like that are prone to injuries necessarily. So I guess Rodri could turn into that this season, we'll see. But either way, it's certainly not the same as the centre-backs. That's why I'm treating them differently here. That's the first thing to say. I don't want him to play at centre-back. Let me repeat. If all our other centre-backs are fit, Akanji does not get near the starting 11 for me. But it's still an option in respect of depth. That's the first thing to say. The second thing is that I know someone tongue-in-cheek said that he can play everywhere poorly, but fundamentally he can play at left-back if necessary. I know he's only played there a couple of times, but every single time he's played at left-back, it's been very good. Again, I'm not advocating for him to play at left-back. I'm just pointing it out that it's a potential option there in this really weird dynamic. And his best position, clearly, in this current City setup, is at right-back. Even then, he's a third-choice right-back to me. Like, let's not get it twisted. Nunes should be starting ahead of him, and Lewis should be starting ahead of him. So once again, to me, if everyone is fully fit, what I'm looking at is a sixth-choice centre-back and a third-choice right-back, and like a third-choice left-back, that sort of thing. So I need to make it clear, even though I would argue, even though I would argue that it's better to keep Akanji than get rid of him, I need to make that position clear. I don't want him to start at all, because again, sixth-choice centre-back, and third-choice right-back, and like third or fourth-choice left-back. So that's fine. Obviously, he'd have to be happy with that, and if he's not, then this whole conversation's irrelevant. One of the reasons why I would keep him is because I like options in respect of setup. Now, it does look like City are going to be playing more of a 2-3 shape this season, and that's absolutely fine. There may be some games, however, where due to novelty, or due to injuries, or due to the specific opposition, we may want to play with a 3 at the back instead, and a 3-2 shape, that sort of thing. Now, that can be achieved without a Akanji. You could have Stones going into the midfield. Again, does rely on Stones' situation. You could have Lewis starting, and he pops into the midfield, and then you just like play Gvardiol at left back instead. However, I do think there is some value in keeping Akanji for the games, because for example, if you play that 3-2 that I've just said there, where you got Lewis at right back, that means you can't play Ait-Nouri. If you want a back 3, you can't play Ait-Nouri. So that just limits City, because if Ait-Nouri can't play, all of a sudden, do I even want Marmoush on the pitch? These are the questions that I think need to be asked, and those questions don't need to be asked if you have another option there. And the option is to have Akanji do his right back thing, and then forming that back 3, and now Ait-Nouri does get to start, and he does get to push up either out wide or into the midfield. So if we did get rid of Akanji, we would lose that option. Now, maybe that option is not valuable. Maybe Pep is looking at that as, I don't even really care about playing a back 3 like that anymore. And that's totally fine. However, I would rather have that option than not have that option. And no doubt he's probably going to stay on the bench like a lot, and if he's happy with that, that's chill. He's not on like enough money to make it so that it's like a really weird situation. So I saw lots of people saying, can we not just keep Grealish and have him as a rotational option? But you can't do that because he was a 100 million pound player. Our record signing is going to be one of the highest earners. Akanji was bought for a relative pittance. He's not going to be one of the highest earners at the club, so I don't even consider it that much of a problem. What I do, and I like the idea of him staying this season, once again with the questionable injury profiles of some of our centre backs, with the what am I saying? And with that tactical option that he gives us, I think there's some value in there, and I think it's worth keeping him if he would be happy to do that. I can see some value, as I say, from the basis of our centre backs to the basis of the tactics. The potential of those tactics. I just cannot see any value in keeping Kovacic. I cannot see it. I've tried really hard. To find some, but every single time I go like, right, what is Kovacic good at? The other players in the other positions that he would be competing with are superior to him, or we should be fielding like a player like Lewis instead of him. If they aren't just superior to him, we should be like giving like Lewis some actual midfield minutes, or Nico O'Reilly some actual midfield minutes. I don't know what the benefit is in keeping him, to be honest with you. But I can see some value in keeping Akanji. So if it was me, I'd keep him. But I'm not precious about it. If he goes, it'll be whatever. It will be whatever. And that's the situation. What do you guys reckon, though, on Akanji? I've yapped a lot there. As I say, I'm perfectly happy to be solo squadding. I'm perfectly happy to be in the minority and going against the grain. But let me know what you guys reckon. Excuse me. Let me see if the likes are good enough. Guys, you're not paying rent. You're not paying rent. Come on. This is not free content. There is a mortgage to be paid. There is rent to be paid, whatever. This is a leasehold situation. Leave a like on the video. It's free. Pay up. Come on. I am... The L in LNobbins stands for landlord. There's a silent scum at the start of that. Landlord Nobbins. Pay your rent. Leave a like on the video, yeah? It's free. Don't be... what's the term? I don't know. Don't be squatting. Don't be a squatter. Yeah? Don't be a squatter. I think Akanji played injured a lot last season, and that lowered a lot of folks' outlook on him. How many games... this serious question. How many games at right back did Akanji play last season? I feel like it was a tiny amount, because let's be real. That's his best position, isn't it? In the current City side. I remember him playing there against Forest, and we looked really good. And I remember him playing against Real Madrid before he got injured. He got injured in both games, I think. And he was really good. What other games did he play at right back? And again, this is a genuine question. I'm thinking about it now. Is that it, Faisal? Because those are definitely those two games. Because those were the two games where that was what you would consider our best back four. If you said to someone at the start of the season, okay, what is City's best back four going into next season? Nearly everyone would have said like Gvardiol at left back and Akanji at right back. Yeah, and like some sort of centre back combination there in like between Stones, Diaz, and Ake. But everyone would have agreed that Akanji, Gvardiol, they were our two best right back options because ain't no one wanted Kyle Walker at right back, and we didn't have the Nunez experiment yet. So it's got to be like maybe like 5 times or something, if that. So basically, what I'm saying is most of his games last season were at centre back, and he should be nowhere near centre back, should he? So maybe that's another thing, perhaps. Who knows? Kova 5th choice, same as Akanji, says Ryan. And again, I can see the value in Akanji from a tactical perspective, from an injury perspective. I can't see it from a midfield cover perspective, once again, there's just too many bodies in the way. Look at the 6. There's Rodri, there's Nico, there's Reinders. In a double, there's Bernardo, there's Nico O'Reilly. Way too many bodies. We'd even throw Lewis in there. Way too many bodies who should be playing ahead of him. It's not even a case of, oh, what if 2 players get injured? I named like 5 players there. So that's not a problem. And then getting ahead of him, you can keep all of those names minus Rodri, but then add on players like Foden and Bob. So yeah, I just don't. I don't get it. I still don't get it. I don't know why we didn't move him on. Try to force the move to Saudi. Don't really understand it. Keep him for peace of mind, says Samir. That's one of my mods talking as well, by the way. Look at his bald head. That's definitely not Haaland with a bald head. That's just him. No, I'm not a landlord. No. You should know my thoughts on landlords. Don't be enough. How would you evict us? Yeah, I'll ban you. Yeah, I won't ban you, Ian, because you're a real one. I'll get that like to you on my next payday. That's not good enough, Jeremy. You barred. Yeah, you barred. Eviction notice. Little swine. Thunder Roads. Do you want to be a mod, mate? Because you're always here and you're always pretty chill. Oscar Bob, yes. How can he play as a right back twice a season and suddenly people call it Akanji's best position at right back? Because that's the position where he's had his best games. If you had to do sort of like a top 10 Akanji performances in his City career, I don't know how many would be centre back. I'd have to do the research on it, but I would suppose that the vast majority of those would be from the treble year where he plays as a right back. I'd even throw the one he played as a left back up there. You know, when he locked down Saka. It was that the treble year as well? I think it may have been. I think it was. I think that was the one at the Etihad. I might be misremembering, but there was definitely one where that happened. So I think it's because you just like, again, you look at the performances and you go like, right, number 1, number 2, number 3, whatever. I guarantee that'd be a really interesting experiment. But I would wager 5p that if you did a top 10 Akanji performances, I guarantee 90%, so 9 out of those 10 are not at centre-back. I guarantee that. I guarantee that. That's not to say he's never played good at centre-back, because he clearly has, but I guarantee his best performances don't come at centre-back. I'm very convinced of that. What position... thank you so much, Damiolo. Great name. What position fits Doku if Savio stays? Will Savio connect well with Haaland if he plays on the left? Well, he would, because his game is a lot more simplified out on that left side. He's just far more of a crosser out on that left side to Haaland, and that would benefit Haaland. His game is simplified. I have maintained that his ceiling is higher on that right side. Savio himself has said his best position is right wing, and he prefers to play on the right wing as well. So I would contend that he should just be sharing that right side with Bob. Probably that would be the case. And then you've got your 2 proper right wingers in Bob and Savio that season. I didn't say that Foden and Bob would be playing ahead of him at 6. Keo, hello. That would have been the conversation about further up the pitch, sir. Sonny Jim. Nobbins looks better without hair. Shush, mate. Bob is a small space player, says Abraham. If we have a better right back who can hold width, you would see a whole big version of Bob. I totally agree with you, Abraham. I've been saying it for bare time. He was very good at left back. I'm sure. No, he was, Samir. He was, but again, I guarantee none of those centre back performances were better than those key ones in the treble year. I might do that as an experiment. What are Akanji's 10 best performances for City? I'm so convinced the vast majority... Okay, maybe 90% is too high. I guarantee the vast majority are going to be at the full-back position. I'm pretty sure about that. Good afternoon, Total Football Talk. If Spurs turn their attention to Doku, would you still want Rodrigo? I don't want Rodrigo, Total Football Talk. I don't want Rodrigo. Arsenal aren't even getting. SA he's going to Spurs, isn't he? Like Calvin Phillips, this guy. Kanji bombing down the wing of crazy crosses would be mad. No, when I say right back, I don't mean that he's going to do the Nunes. I'm saying that if you want to have a more defensive back four and you want to have a more conservative build-up with a 3 rather than a 2, then he's an option there. That's all I'm saying. Because, yeah, you couldn't have him... you couldn't have him at right back in like in a back 2, could you? That would make no sense. That would make no sense. Before we pay rent, can we have a house viewing? You're here right now. Look, you can see it. You're in the chat. You're in the stream. The stream is the chat. It's an allegory, okay? It's not a literal house, guys. The rent was an allegory for the like button. That's all it was. It wasn't a real house. This isn't a real house you guys are living in. Justice for Calvin Phillips. This guy, man. This guy. I don't know. Is he injured again? I do feel a bit bad for Calvin Phillips because he came to City injured, and then it was done, and it was already done anyway because like Bielsa destroyed his legs, and his brain is just not quick enough to play as like a City deep midfielder. He's just not good enough under pressure. He needs all the play right in front of him. He needs all the play right in front of him. Otherwise, he can't do anything. So he never had, and he was never going to develop into that player given the injuries and the fact that Rodri is Rodri. So it's yeah. I don't know if it was a mistake at the time to sign him, because we'll never know what would have happened because of the injuries. But Phillips, I have seen for England him play a bit more advanced. So I wonder if the plan would have been to try to make him into a 6-8 hybrid rather than just a pure defensive midfielder. But obviously never got up and running. Pep never fancied him. And once you've lost Pep's confidence, that's the end of it, isn't it? That is the end of it. Griff asks, would I not take Rodrigo over Doku? I don't think I would, because it's not about who is the better player, Rodrigo or Doku, because obviously Rodrigo is a better footballer than Doku. That is not in dispute. But the reason why I wouldn't take that deal is because, to me, the question isn't Rodrigo or Doku. The question isn't Rodrigo or Savio. The question shouldn't be Rodrigo or Bob. The question should be, and is, from my perspective, Rodrigo or Marmoush. I do not view it as a choice between Rodrigo or anyone else other than him. I view them as too similar to be worthwhile having them both in the same team and occupying the same area of the pitch. I don't like that. And if you're getting rid of Doku, then that would have to be the case because you're losing another left wing option. So I'm going to say no, because it's not about is he a better player than Doku. It's not about is he a better player than Savio. It's not about is he a better player than Bob, because right now he's better than all three of them. Let me make that very clear. He's better than all three of them. But it's not about just being a better footballer. It's about what are the traits that you offer in the positions and zones that you want to occupy. And Marmoush is better than Rodrigo, based on the last 2 seasons when Marmoush actually, a late bloomer, whatever you want to call him, Marmoush has been superior. So I'm picking Marmoush personally. Calvin for centre back. Do you remember that in pre-season when he played him there? Everyone's like, oh, he's going to make a comeback. And then he was like, oh, and then gone, whatever. Can you let out the spare room? Can you let me out the spare room, for God's sake? God's sake, E-Ink. Calvin Phillips or Igate? Jesus, man. I mean, do you want to die by drowning or by fire? Yeah, he's sort of done, isn't he? I really think people underestimate how intense Bielsa ball was for him. I think that it just killed his legs. He just couldn't run. He just couldn't run anymore. He was so slow. And yeah. He massively overpaid, no doubt, yeah, but it's a tricky one. Like he was homegrown, England international, blah 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 blah. It's about building a team, not a squad, says Fireborn. Yes. It's about building a team, not a collection of individuals. Do not fall into the Galacticos myth. Do not fall into the Galacticos myth, chaps. And this let ballers ball rhetoric. It doesn't work in a vacuum. You can't let ballers ball if there is zero squad building going on. A team of like Mbappe and Haaland and Vinicius and Rodrigo and fucking Isak and Ekitike would not work. That's an extreme example, but it would not work. They're all fantastic footballers, but we know that's not how it works. It's fine to let ballers ball. It's fine to do that, but there's got to be some degree of understanding of structure / actually having players in the correct positions and ones that actually meld well with one another and actually have some chemistry and can develop relationships. Otherwise, it would be really super easy to win league titles. You wouldn't have to really think about it. People like to talk about it. It's so interesting because people like to talk about Real Madrid as the example of, oh, but they let ballers ball and it works for them. But when they were doing that, it still made sense. Like, they still had like this player who would occupy the central zones, and they still had a left winger, and they still had a right winger, and they still had a box crashing midfield or whatever. Look at what happened last season. As the counter to that, they had Mbappe. They got worse, despite him being one of the best players in the world. So based on the let ballers ball logic, or just get a name, they should have won the treble. They should have won everything, and yet they went backwards because the chemistry wasn't there, and because it just didn't blend well. Now maybe Xabi Alonso can make it work, but based on how they were set up last year, you got too many players who want to be in the same areas. It just doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that all the time. Galacticos era, once again, David Beckham, one of the best players in the world at the time in around 2003. Real Madrid signed him. Galactico signing, he's a name. Perez literally admitted it. He said, yep, we signed him because he is a name. We wanted to move shirts and all that bullshit. It was for commercial reasons. He's a Galactico. He's a big name. He was shit at Real Madrid. He massively underperformed because guess what? Figo was better than him, and he wasn't playing over Figo in his actual position, so he was shoved into the side in a position that wasn't his, and he played like dog shit as a consequence. And that whole period of footballers massively underperformed because Galacticos do not work. They do not work. Sometimes the quality will be so great that, yeah, you might win a league title every now and then, but you will not get consistent success doing that. History tells us that that is not how it works. The Galacticos failed at every single hurdle. Every single time, the new Galacticos era, failure. In relative terms, failure. We don't want that. We don't want to turn into that. Hey, Donnarumma's on the way. Donnarumma's on the way. I feel sorry for Phillips. He's just rotting away. I'm sure he's a lovely person, yeah. I'm sure he's a lovely person. This guy, Ed, man. Galacticos don't work. Our focus is and should always be about building a team. I agree. If that is true, Fenway, that's incredibly upsetting. On a scale of 1 to 10 of likelihood, where do you rank the chance of Donnarumma to City and Rodrigo to City happening? Yeah, well, I thought it was very likely to happen. These are the twists and turns, aren't they? These are the twists and the turns. It still seems to me that Donnarumma is very likely. I'm gonna give Donnarumma an 8 out of 10, and I'm gonna give Rodrigo a 4. Now I'm gonna give him a 4. Big up Will Hughes. How many times had a genuine team of Galacticos met their expectations? I don't think it's ever happened. So, because again, Galacticos the term is based off what Real Madrid started to do in the early noughties, and there have been multiple Galactico periods. Like the first one was with R9 and Zidane and Beckham. I think the next one was Kaká, who was a massive failure at Real Madrid. Again, it's just not as simple as sign these players. They've still got to work well together. And again, this is not the same as what you're saying that a team full of great players can't play well together. That's stupid. No, you've got to. It's great signing great players. Everyone should be looking to sign great players. You've got to sign the right great players. Viana's cooking, says B. He's doing good. He seems to be doing good for the most part. I've made my concerns known about some things, but if we keep Savio, I'll be happier, a lot happier than I was. Everyone knows how happy I was with the pre-Club World Cup business. Yeah. I thought Galatasaray can't agree to City. We'll see, Noah, won't we? City should sign Ben White. I'm not sure about that one, Terence. Look how much better PSG got when transitioning from Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe era to their hard-working system. Now, once again, yeah, they're still fantastic players. Of course they are. But, again, they do work better as a team. Like, everyone would say that a front three of Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe is a hell of a lot better than a front three of, like, what, Barcola, Dembele, and Doué, or whatever. Everyone would say, well, obviously, that one's a lot better. And yet, one turned out to be a lot better on the pitch. It's more to do with, like, balance and all that stuff, isn't it? They've got to work well together. That is the key. There's nothing wrong with signing great players and big names, but they've got to make sense. They've got to make sense. This is why, smaller example, it made 0 sense for United to sign Sanchez when they did. They literally only signed him because we wanted him and because he was a name. Like, I still remember, and this goes to show, I think, I can't remember what it was. Is this what I'm thinking of? Yes, I think it is. This was on my old personal Twitter account, which I don't think exists anymore. On Twitter, City announced the contract extension of De Bruyne the same day that United announced that, you know, that Sanchez video where he's playing the piano. And it's a very good video, to be fair. And it's like this massive deal and that sort of thing. And you've got all the fans going, wow, look at this. Like, City tried to do this, and like we've blown them out of the water. The amount of likes we've got on this poster, like Sanchez is a great player, and that sort of proves my point. Like, these people are more interested in, like, I don't even know, like, social media interaction and like and the fact that it is this big name that's joining them. But United didn't need Sanchez at that point. He didn't fit the makeup of the squad at the time, and I was watching loads of like United YouTubers at the time, and they were saying, look, it doesn't matter if he doesn't fit the squad. He's a world-class player. If he's available, you sign him. I think that's a horrendous mentality to have. If you don't need said player, if said player wouldn't actually improve the dynamics of the squad, who cares how good they are? It doesn't seem to make any sense to me. I don't know. It's an odd one. So in a roundabout way, that's sort of what I'm talking about with like this notion. Because I've seen some people saying, Rodrigo is what's the term they use? I was going to say business expense. Market opportunity. He's a name. He's available. So you get him. You get these world-class players. I don't think he's world-class, but it's like you get them if they're available because they're a market opportunity, because they are a name, because they'll sell shirts, whatever. I really don't think that is a good starting point to have RE squad building. I think that's an odd way to come from it. Another odd way to come from it is, I've seen some people say this as well. We're bringing it back to Rodrigo now for a moment. Oh, well, if City don't sign him, then what if Arsenal or Liverpool do? And then we'll only have ourselves to blame. Okay, so now we are basing our transfer policy off the fear that another team will get them, rather than just worrying about ourselves and trying to make our own team better. That, to me, that would be the mindset of like someone who is a coward and someone who is scared, rather than just thinking, let's focus on ourselves, let's be the best we can be, rather than just doing it to block another team getting it. That seems a very peculiar way to do business. Very peculiar way. It's never how City have ever done their business. That's how like Man United under Ed Woodward would operate, which is very, very odd. Very, very odd. That's now the thought from some of these people that I've seen on Twitter again. It's like, oh, well, we'll only have ourselves to blame if he plays really well for Arsenal. I don't care if he goes to Arsenal. It's nothing to do with City. He should go to Arsenal, by the way. Be a much better deal for him. It would make far more sense for him to go to Arsenal, or less so Liverpool, but more so Arsenal, than come to City. But we can't say, oh, look, what happened now? We could have stopped him going there. I really don't want my club to base transfer policy off that. That seems to be an error. Guys, we're approaching 90 minutes, and I've yapped a lot. Do we have any final thoughts for me on anything that's been said today? Let me know. Let me know. I don't know what that means, Terence. I think it's a loser mentality. I don't care. I don't care what Arsenal are doing. Like, let's just focus on ourselves and make sure that we match them or do better in our own market. Ridiculous Arsenal at signing him. He'd make so much sense for them, especially compared to Madueke. I personally think so. Flaws, that's reasonable. But I just mean, like, what do Arsenal need? We all know they need this elite player. They need some extra power going forwards. Certainly on that left side. Just someone that's better than Martinelli. Should strengthen your own team rather than try to sabotage opponents, says Matty. I agree. Arsenal can't buy anyone until this sale plays. What's that based on, AI Joy? What's that based on? Focusing on who others could potentially sign rather than working on how to improve our squad. We need it counterproductive. I agree. Rodrigo makes it better starting at left wing. Doku isn't good enough yet. Marmoush is a big space transitional player, not tight space. I disagree. But once again, Samir, if you're saying Rodrigo starting at left wing, doesn't really mean left wing. It actually means inside forward, and that's where Marmoush plays. That's the key distinction. They're both inside forward. So we can say left wing if we want, off ball, but we both know they're not going to play left wing on ball. So they are absolutely comparable. And they share far too many traits. In favour of Akanji leaving or good squad depth, I'd rather Akanji stay, Ed. We've covered Akanji in this section. I've not seen anything about that. I don't know why he would be upset or unhappy. I don't know why he would do that. Why? But why, Samir? Because Marmoush has been better than him for the past 2 years. Why are you getting rid of Marmoush, who's been better than Rodrigo for the past 2 years? That seems a bit odd. Does it not? Elise saying, coming in my view, I don't think so. There ain't no way Bayern are going to let him go. Surely not. Enough of the City chat. What do Arsenal need? Terence, mate, I don't know if you know the title of the stream. I've told you what Arsenal need. They need a left winger. Well, no, I take that back. They need an upgrade on Martinelli. An on-ball inside forward, I guess. Rodrigo. Let's buy everybody to start them playing against us. Yeah, let's just hoard them all. Let's hoard them all, yeah? Could Saka work at City? Oh, yeah, well, Saka's such a wonderful footballer. Of course it would work. According to their tacticals, they need to sell at least one player. So they lack space and money. I don't know if I agree that they lack money. I'm sure I remember reading like a report that said Arsenal could spend like 200, 300 million quid and still be okay for PSR. Surely not. Sure, no way, B. I don't believe that. Wow, Thunder Road, so you really are a fraud. That's crazy. That's crazy. Can Jesus do a job for Arsenal on the left when back from injury? I think the time for Jesus is done. But Samir, who's been better for the past 2 years? Just, I want one name. Who's been better for the past 2 seasons? Rodrigo or Marmoush? And there is a correct answer here. Don't let me down, Samir. I've got faith. Don't let me down, you little fraud. I take Savio over Saka. Noah, that's That's bold. I personally wouldn't. I think Saka's a lovely footballer. How can we get NordVPN through you again? So let me just get the official link for you, matey. Let me get the official link, because whilst I'm doing that, I will have a look at some other questions. A creative midfielder. Midfield doesn't create anything, especially when they have a 9. Now, it's going to be so interesting to see, because that midfield is quite, in relative terms, it's quite a defensive midfield. It's quite a defensive midfield. And I think that if you're going to play a midfield that defensive, then you need to have ridiculous quality going forwards. And you all know my thoughts on that. You all know my thoughts on that. User 885. Here is the Nord link, matey. NordVPN.com/LNobbins. If you want to have a look at that. I hope so, Low Fat Moffat. I really hope so. How do I think Pep will incorporate Marmoush this season? The best way to do that is to field Ait-Nouri as the on-ball left winger, have Marmoush tucked inside as that inside forward, able to bounce off him. That would be the best way for me, Carla. That'd be the best way for me. That is not true, Jimmy. That is not true. He's been very good the last 2 seasons. Someone has not watched any Frankfurt. I think he might be done ultimate, yeah. It doesn't matter who's better than the past 2 seasons. Samir, I'm going to ask you again. Who has been the better player for the past 2 seasons? Is it Marmoush or is it Rodrigo? That was my question. And there is a correct answer. Tuning from Barbados, I'm jealous. No worries at all, user mate. Let me know how you get on. Big up to Nord for sponsoring a few of our streams this season. And I will be using them. Oh, someone said that the Romanian site that I use no longer has the rights. I have confirmed they do not anymore have that, which is a shame. There is a Turkish broadcaster called... where are they? Todd's TV or something along those lines, which you could use. I'm personally just going to... But they don't offer 1080p video, so I'm just going to go for Peacock this year, I think, which is a little bit more expensive. It's only like £9 or £10 a month or something like that. And it's got all of the football. So, yeah, I think the Turkish one's about £6, but it's not as good RE quality. So there we go. Arsenal need excited football. Terence, I agree. You think sorry, to confirm, Samir, because this is the question. Do you believe that Rodrigo has been better than Marmoush over the past 2 seasons? So you think he was better than him in last season and the season before that? Do you really think that? Because if you do, I'll stop asking, but I just need to double check. I'm not asking who's better for City. I'm asking who's been better the past 2 years. That's all I want. That's all I want to know. And if you still say Rodrigo, I'll leave it. Except the 6 months before he came to City. Okay, I'm gonna move on then. I'm gonna move on. That is a hopeless battle, I'm afraid, from my perspective. What about including the price of the VPN in order to watch Peacock? Says Flaws. I don't know how much it is with my link, but you can click on it, Flaws, and then do that. But basically, it's a lot cheaper than Sky Sports. It's a lot cheaper than Sky Sports and a lot cheaper than BT, and you get everything. So you are going to be saving a lot of money if you so desire. I personally just need it for the 3 p.m. kickoffs. That's all, because I've obviously got Sky and BT. Yeah. Yes, we do have an FPL league. Yes. Is Jack still here? Jack, can you... Oh, I can do it. I'm not lazy. I am lazy, but... I do have an FPL league. I already hate my team because I took out Semenyo for fucking Mbumo. I had Palmer in it and I had Verts in it. I'm absolutely stinking up the joints already, so you know, we'll love to see that. We really do. Okay, Samir. If this is what you're basing it off, then that tells me everything I need to know, without wishing to be rude. Right. Invitational. The LNobbins Bundesliga. Invite people to join league. Copy auto link. There we go. Chaps. Hopefully that's been sent through. There you go. If you want to join my league, you can click that link, or the code is just that. 4HDAXA. 4HDAXA. So if you want to pop that in, then that is lovely if you so desire. How much football do I watch in a week? It depends. If I'm scouting a player, then I watch a disgusting amount of games. If it's just like if it's for recreational / streaming use, then obviously this week, or rather last week, I think I watched 4. Like full Premier League games, I think. I watched the Liverpool game, watched the United game, I watched the City game, and I watched the Chelsea game. I think that's all I watch. I don't think I got around to watching any more. But again, if I'm scouting a player, like a Donnarumma or whatever, then obviously that number goes up. Okay, guys. I'm going to end it there because we have been live for just over 90 minutes. Thank you very much. We did get over 250 likes, which is great in the end. So everyone did pay rent. Thank you so much. I'm going to now... what am I going to do now? I will be live on We Are the South Stand at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. So... Is that right? 6 o'clock? Yeah, 6 o'clock. So join me for that. And then I'll be live on Twitch, which is even more important that you follow Twitch, guys. Every single evening, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we will be there. Why is the bot not working? Why are you doing this to me, sir? Why is my bot being a little bitch? What is happening? Why? Why are you not working, mate? Why not working? Why not working, you little fraud? Love that from you, Samir. I like Samir because Samir disagrees with me on a lot, but I don't know. I like the way you word your messages. I don't know. It's not like that fucking mentalist from the other day who's just a twat. Do you know what I mean? Thank you, Jack. Yeah. Twitch.tv/LNobbins. Click that link. We will be live today, as I say, straight after We Are the South Stand, which will be around 7 o'clock. So make sure to join me for that. Until then, guys, thank you so much as always. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you. Oh, yeah, exactly. Anthony F, yeah, another one. Like, he's just like, I'm sorry, there are just some proper morons here who like can't even structure a sentence together. And I've got no time for them. And then when I say you're a fucking idiot or whatever, they just go, oh, you're just banning me because you disagree with me. Mate, if I banned everyone who disagreed with me, I'd have like 1 viewer. So that's not true at all. Anyway, thank you very much, guys. It's the manner. Thank you very much. Yeah, sorry, I know I keep saying I'm going to go. I gave him so many chances, man. Because he should have gone last season. Because he was the one, I don't forget, yeah? He was the one who blamed Foden for the Feyenoord capitulation. Foden, who went off when we were 3-0 up. I don't forget that shit. Yeah? I don't forget that shit. So he should have gone then. I gave him a fair few months, to be fair. Anyway, I'm actually going to go. I've clicked the end button. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you later, 7 PM on Twitch.